All right, it's great to have you here. Welcome everyone, it's Chris Petri. We're going to be creating some wonderful swatches, color swatches using a Prang Oval 16 set, some Fabriano paper. We're going to cover colors, techniques, pencil drawing, how to get these laid out on your paper correctly, and really enjoyable. Once we get through this section, the first half of the video, we're going to move into the next section of the video. We're going to use tube paint. So obviously, Prang Oval 16 set, that's a beginner set when you're first starting out, your first, 6 months to a year. Easy to use. You just spritz it with a spritzer bottle. You spritzer bottle, and that's it. You're ready to paint. You close up your paint box. When you're ready to paint the next time, you just take the spritzer bottle and you're ready to paint again. Nothing. That's all you got to do. Then when you, about a year later, after you're working with your Prang, you're going to start wanting to use some really nice, fresh tube paint, and you can see how vibrant these colors and how beautiful these colors are, and you can get much more dynamics when you're using fresh tube paint a lot quicker and easier. I'm not saying you can't get great colors and dynamics with your Oval 16, but when you shift to the tube paints, you'll notice you're going to get a little more versatility with them, and they're more expensive and they're a little more difficult to keep managed. You have to kind of keep them in a cool spot in a plastic bag. You have to fill them up every once in a while when they run low, but it's worth it. After some time when you're painting, you'll know when you're ready to use the tube paints. But I have all the information you can imagine in this video of painting swatches, colors, using both the Oval 16 and my standard Schmincke palette. And also too, I have all of the paint supplies that you'll need here in my comment section below, and you can shop around on Amazon. That's where I buy all my supplies from. So Amazon has everything you could ever need. You can even shop around for better prices or, different things like that. But I'm just happy to be here with you, and let's get started on the video. We're going to have a lot of fun. So for the next hour, enjoy, relax, grab your favorite beverage, a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a nice ice cold glass of water, whatever it is you like to have that with you. And let's just have a good time and have some fun, okay? All right, we'll be right back. All right, well, you just saw some of the swatches that we completed in this video right from the beginning. And right now we're just going to get started. And we'll work through some different palettes that we're going to try out. And of course, in other videos, subsequent videos, we're going to work on maybe some other palettes even beyond the ones we're working with in this session, in this workshop or tutorial. So the first thing was the Prang Oval 16 set. I consider this like the best beginner's palette out there that I can find, and I've used it for many years now. And I mostly, on my videos that I label Extreme Beginners, this is basically a palette that I would say if you're just starting out in watercolor, maybe your first try at it, your first week or two, your first month, even 6 months, first year, you maybe work with this palette. It's tremendously user-friendly, and really all you have to do to maintain it is really just a spritz of water over it, over the paints, and you can begin painting. And then when you're done, you can just close it up. And whether you come back a day later, a few days, or a week later, you can just do the same thing. You open it back up, spritz it with a little bit of fresh water, and you're ready to paint again. So we'll get into the next palette after this one when we do a few swatches here. Then we'll move on to the next palette. I'll explain how that one's a little more dynamic and different, and you might have to, it's a little more work to keep up on it and fill it with paints and stuff like that. But we'll cover that in just a little bit down the road here in this video. But right now, what I like to do, I usually mention is a lot of times when I'm making videos, I like to have stuff that's, I like to have my gear, my supplies, my art palettes especially. I want to have them stable when I'm working on my table with them. So I usually roll up a little bit of tape, painter's tape this is, and then I put it on the back like that, and then I can set it down like this. And then just press on this a little bit. And right now, these move around a little bit. Usually I take some double stick tape and put it inside this bottom of this part of the tray of this palette. And then it keeps these from moving around. Like you can kind of see how these are moving around a little bit. So I usually modify some things with double stick tape. So maybe in another video I'll go over how I kind of set up. Actually, I have videos where I show, I think, the way I rearrange my colors a little bit and the way I double stick tape it. But it's really simple. You just take a small piece of double stick tape and you put it on one piece up top and one piece down here, and then you put these trays back in. These trays come out real easy. So you basically, let's do it. Let's just try it out now. We'll just go for it, and I'll show you how I just get this part anyway. So these come out pretty easy. They're pretty flexible. You lift them out like that, and then I don't know if I have double stick tape right here with me. Let me see if I could just find some right close by. I'll be back in just a second here. I'm gonna try to look for some in my drawers here. I have some blueprint drawers here, and but I don't see any. Let me try one more drawer here and see what happens. Okay, I don't see anything. All right, so what I'm going to do is we'll just take one quick break for a few seconds. I'll get some double stick tape. It's across the studio, so I don't want to go away for too long here. So I'll be right back. I'll grab some double stick tape, and we'll pop these back in with the double stick tape, and you'll see how much more stable it is and more comfortable to work with. So I'll just stop the tape for a minute, and I'll come right back. All right, so I picked up some double stick tape from across the studio, and I trimmed a couple pieces like this, 2 small pieces, and then I just peel it off like this, and I kind of just figure, okay, like that. Okay, might have went a little bit too much this way. Let's try this. That should be good. So one there, and I trimmed off another piece here. And I'll just do the same thing. I kind of line it up like this. That should be good. That's that simple. And then we take our trays and put them back in like this. That's that one, and then this one goes in next. Press it in like this. Get it lined up the way you want it, and then just press it down at the tape locations, and there you have it. And now they don't move at all. And then you can put back in your brush if you want when you're done painting. And so we'll take our brush, we'll have that set. Clean off our table here. Okay, and then we'll give our paints a spritz. And that's good. I wouldn't flood them with too much water, but I would definitely give it a good, especially your first time using the paints, you know, you want to give it a good bit of moisture to the top of it, and that's it, just on the top and not too much. And then we're going to take our pencil, and we're going to do a few swatches, and what we'll do is, let's say you're just getting started and you want to try out the colors and see the way they look, no problem. Perfect time to do it. When you do swatches, you can always use a ruler if you want to get a couple straight lines started. Sometimes you can use a T-square ruler and hold it right up against the edge of the paper, and then that'll give you a perfectly straight line across. We could use this one here. Let's say we're going to go with 3 rows. So we'll just start out here. I'll hold the T-square on the edge here of the paper, like that. That'll just make a light, super light line on both sides of the ruler, like that. Then I'll do another one here. Super light line like this. Another super light line. Just kind of dragging the pencil along very lightly on the paper so that it doesn't make a dark pencil line, but just a super light one like that. And then another one here. Okay, and then that's going to be our lines for our swatches, and then we can certainly extend these a little bit with the ruler. We just line up the ruler, make sure that the ruler rests right upon the line all the way across, nice and even, and then you can extend out these lines like so. Or you could do it by eye too. Very lightly, like that. You can extend them. Like that. And then you might just kind of do the same thing. Maybe this time just we measure. Let's just do this. Let's keep these lines like so. Very much like writing on paper, like a piece of notepad with lines. The lined notepads, the college ruled and standard ruled pads of paper. So what we could do is just take this ruler and just maybe mark off every inch. So we'll go 1 inch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm doing each hash mark 7, 8 inches. And then we can take the ruler and just transfer those lines down. And say one here, and one at the bottom. Like that. And then just transfer the lines down roughly. Like that. And you can even do it by eye. Just make a little it's better to line it up if you can with a ruler. Rulers are fun to work with. You know, you can kind of get things pretty accurate and straight, especially if you're going to be doing a project where you're going to create some architectural style, like street scenes or landscapes with barns or houses, things like this. Any kind of scene with architecture, like buildings and houses and things like this, you can absolutely break out a ruler once in a while and just get some of your lines with the ruler. Not all of them, obviously. Sometimes we have curved lines in architecture, and that's a little bit more challenging to do with the ruler. Sometimes you'll have to get a little bit of something different maybe to work with. You can find really interesting stencils to work with if you want to occasionally. But I draw mostly freehand. I hope you will too. And it's just a matter of practicing, you know, a little bit every day, maybe 15 minutes a day. And after a while, you'll just get really into the swing of how to contour, draw, and sketch by just practicing like 15 minutes a day. And that's all it is, really. So for these swatches, we're going to keep it simple. Maybe we'll just do the top row first by drawing them in. And we'll just basically easily take a line and go straight up, across. And then as we come across, we're going to look for this hash mark down here and say, okay, right about there, I can see I have to start going downward with this line. And then this line's more simple. We just trace right over that bottom line. So if you can imagine, your top and bottom lines are taken care of. You don't have to worry about those angles or lines. You just have to do your vertical lines here. Straight up like this. Then you have this line to go across. Fine. You look at this one and say, where is that? That's about here. You can even take your pencil and put it there and say, yeah, that's about straight. And then maybe move your pencil over this way and say, okay, right around there is that line going down like that. And then we have this one set again. And then we'll do the same thing across. Maybe we want to do this line here with the vertical line with our eye it up and say, oh, about right there. Like, no, that's not correct. It's not correct. Right there is about good. And then we just rest our nail right on that point where the pencil is. And then we just lift up the pencil, make a hash mark, and come right down like this. And then you have it. And after a while, you get the swing of it, the hang of it, and you just start visually seeing things a little bit more accurately where you don't need to depend on as many hash marks and so forth. But this is good. This is what we're looking for. 4 swatches right across the top or more. You can make the lines smaller or bigger. You can make bigger swatches or smaller, bigger sheets of paper, smaller sheet of paper, however you want to do it. But this is basically the game plan of how you can get some really good, accurate swatches going with your pencil lines. And then what we'll do is we'll pick up with our beautiful colors here in the Prang set. Look at all these awesome colors. I usually, again, rearrange them a little differently, and we'll cover that maybe in another video. And I do have other videos out there if you ever want to just type in Chris Petri Prang Oval 16 set, Prang Oval 16 paint set. You'll probably see 5 or 6 videos that I've created where I talk about this palette. I show you all the colors. I show you how I rearrange the colors, so on and so forth, and how I use it, and different color combinations you can get with the colors and things like that. So I have a lot of videos already in my archives. You can always look that up real simple by just, typing in those quick keywords. So let's start right from the top here. We'll go in and take a little bit of this, and I'm just literally dipping my brush in the paint well with the spritzer bottle, we moisten the paint, and that's all I'm using is the moist paint right now. I'm not really thinking about adding much water to it at all. Just a little bit of spritzer on top of the paint, and then we'll go right in and use that. And you can see what beautiful, vibrant color we have here. Really exciting, and looks fantastic. What I like to do, I hope you'll enjoy doing this too, is when you're working, you can always have a tissue in hand, and you can rinse off your brush and then dry off some of the water on the tissue. So this way you're not taking a brush flooded with water and then going into your next color, and next thing you know, you have all these big puddles of water in your paint wells. You want to try to keep these paint wells just with that little bit of mist of water on top of the paint and nothing more. If you want to add more water, let's try this one here. Maybe we'll say this one here. Let's try that. And then if you want to add water, this is the place you'll do it, over here. I'll pick up some water out of my water container. So I just have a simple water container over here with clean fresh water on the right hand side over here. And I just pick up some water there, and then maybe we'll do a swatch over here. And I just keep the point of the brush along the pencil line. So it's about controlling the point of the brush, really, when you're painting these swatches. You just want to keep that point along the edge like so. You got to spin around sometimes your hand and keep that point along the edge like so. You can come in at an angle like this, like that, and you pretty much can get it. And look at that, how good that looks. That looks like a flesh tone. That looks like a really nice flesh tone, actually, with that water mixed in there with this orange color. That looks pretty nice for flesh colors, for figures and portraits. And let's move on to the yellow. Then here I'll rinse off my brush, dry off the water, and go right in like that. And this is really good. That's just the straight yellow paint. And this is a nice, like, lemony yellow. And again, I'll just swirl my brush around, and remember to keep my point of my brush along that line. And I have my hand resting on the paper at all times so that I have a stable hand, and then I'm just basically moving my brush around like this while my hand is actually affixed to my working board and my paper. I have a working board underneath this paper. So if you can imagine, I have a large masonite board. It's about 2 feet by 3 feet. 3 feet this way and about 2 feet this way. 2 feet by 3 feet. And I can really put large pieces of paper on here or work on it with smaller sheets of paper. And it gives you that good, stable foundation where you can rest your hand anywhere on the board all the way around as you're painting the painting. And always have a good, stable technique with the way you're manipulating your hand and your brush and your washes and even your pencil drawing too. All right, so we're going to work on, let's do one more. Let's go with, come over here. I think this is like a violet color. That's really a pretty color. Wow, that's a beautiful flower color. And I added a little bit of water to it. But remember, I like to add the water over here versus trying to add the water in here. So I'll take the paint, put the straight paint in here, and then go to the water container, get a little bit of water, pick up some water, and then thin it out over here. Again, the key is to keep the paint wells kind of like just with the misted water on top of those paints there. You don't want to have big puddles of water flooding out your colors, because then you won't be able to get a good dark color like we'll show you in a second here. So let's say you wanted to, let's say quickly we wanted to make a color like this using the same color, but we want it a little more darker. We want a darker tonal value of this color. We did thin this color out with, like you can kind of see here, with a little bit of water. Well, let's say we wanted to thin or make this a darker, same color, just a darker tonal value. Well, the way we would do that is, let's do this here. Let's start another swatch here, like that. We just go straight in like this with just a damp brush. And can you see how dark that is? compared to this. This is very much lighter. So you wouldn't be able to do this like we're doing right now, making this darker, richer tonal value in that same color if you had this well here flooded with water because it was leaking off of the brush hairs into the well of paint, or if you were trying to mix a more lighter tonal value and lighter color. If you tried doing it in here, adding the water in here, then the next time you maybe in a few minutes in your painting, you might want to do something this dark. You'd have a hard time now getting that dark because now you have a whole bunch of water in there. So if that does happen, you could always take a bit of paper towel and blot up some of the water out of your paint well. But if you just recall, kind of having that one step where you try to just keep these paint wells without filling up with any water, then you're going to be fine. But if you had to, you could do it. Let's pretend we added too much water in this. Like this. I'm just picking up water out of the paint bucket. Now let's say you had a whole bunch of water flooded in here and you wanted to get this nice, really dark, rich color like this. You could just say, oh, I forgot. I wasn't supposed to fill this up with water. I was supposed to keep these kind of dry, you know, not too much water in there. You could easily just do this too. You can grab a paper towel like this, and I usually tear them down into smaller pieces. And you could just simply go in here and lift it up. Maybe go in one more time and lift up the puddle. And then there's no harm in that, and there's no problem with that. Then now you're back to perfect, just that real rich paint that you want to get for this right here. So that's how we can really keep a good control of our washes, our paint, our tonal values, darks and lights. And we're going to keep working on these and get some more of these colors out on the paper because they're really beautiful. Look at this. We have like the color of beautiful roses here and flower colors and beautiful gold colors that can be landscape type gold or some golden sun in the sunsets, or you might have a building that has some golden colors in it, or a field of in a farmland with some golden colors in the fields. Beautiful. We have a nice flesh tone here, a nice beautiful red for some flowers, a nice barn red, kind of looks like a nice barn red. So we have lots of fun colors to work with still. Let's do some more swatches. And again, these practice swatches are so unbelievably good for your painting technique and learning to control the brush and getting that point of your brush accurate where your drawing is when you're painting with your drawings of whatever subject matter you might be painting. And I always mention on my channel here, we do everything watercolor and we do every imaginable subject matter. We do like houses, buildings, streetscapes, farmland scenes, landscapes, seascapes, oceans, beaches. We do wonderful flower paintings, still life paintings. We do once in a while a portrait or two, some figure painting. But everything is watercolor, and we try to mix it up here so everyone gets a little bit of what they enjoy most. Some people really enjoy painting flowers mostly, and they're going to paint most of the time flowers. That's fine. I sometimes have my favorite things I like to paint too. So everyone's kind of the same in that way. And but if you practice everything, then whenever the opportunity arises and you want to paint something, whether of whatever subject matter you like, or even something maybe that you just someone's asking you to paint it, or you're maybe at a workshop and the instructor might say, we're going to paint a landscape today. And if you like flowers most of the time, well, if you practice landscapes a few times, no problem. You can do that. You can have already the practice time in on a few landscapes here and there. So that's why I try to really create a lot of different subject matter on my channel so that you always are practicing different things. But this is really like a fundamental thing, and it's really fun to do. And it's even fun to go back and do these. Even if you've been painting a couple years or more, or even if you've been painting a while, it's always good to go back and do some swatches just to see if you can, you know, warm up on your technique a little bit, get yourself back into focusing on your brush and accuracy and things like this. And it really does help a lot. And we're going to go over more videos like this in the future so that everyone that's coming along on my videos will get a lot of good practice with fundamentals with your watercolor painting. And it's going to help you with your finished painting so much. and even your compositions when you're just working to learn new subject matter or a new subject you might want to paint. It'll be great that you have worked on these fundamentals once in a while. It helps you to really key in on your technique and how well you're applying your paint and your washes and watercolor, because that's really important. You don't have like really a lot of second chances with watercolor. I have to admit that. That's one of the difficulties of watercolor. With oil paint, you can actually scrape off your oil paint off your board or your canvas with a palette knife and scrape it off and then paint something over again. Watercolor's not like that so much. You really have to sort of be pretty accurate when you're working, for the most part, when you're going in the first time and doing it. So that's why I kind of really like to do a lot of these type exercise videos, because it's hard to correct mistakes on watercolor paintings. Most of the time it's pretty difficult to do it, but there's ways to do it, and I'll cover that in more videos in the future. But right now, let's keep working on our fundamentals here. We'll come right back and do some more swatches, okay? We'll learn more about some more of these colors, these beautiful colors here in the Prang Oval 16 set. If you're just starting out for the first time, welcome, and I'm so happy you're here to start watercolor painting, and this is your set you're going to get when you start. And I have all this in the bottom, in the description box below the video. You'll see all my paint supplies, and I have the basic Prang Oval 16 set in there. You can check it out on Amazon, see what the prices are. You might shop around a little bit, whatever. And then you'll see it comes with a brush, this brush. And you have some other things there too, some paper and some other pencils and erasers or whatever you might need. But let's come right back and have a great time doing it. All right, so we're moving right along here. And we're going to continue. Let's get some more pencil lines on here. So at this point, I'm going to try to contour draw in my swatches on this line here, and I won't rely on the ruler. I'll try to just do it by eye and see how it works out. So I'll take my pencil and I'll start down here. And I'm just going to, I'm not shooting for perfection or being perfect here. I'm just trying to see if I can get the swatch somewhat square looking. So I go there, I stop, my pencil kind of jogs in place like a runner jogging in place until I get ready to go across this way. This way is a little bit more simple. I'm just following this line. Then as I go across here, I do the same thing, runner jogging in place with my pencil, and I say, okay, here's that line down here I'm going to match up with, that hash mark, and it looks like I'm pretty much over it. There we go. Down to that, and this one's a little more simple across the pencil line there. We'll try the same thing again. I'll start down here, and I'll go vertical this way, and then I stop and I just kind of hold my pencil there, make a dot, and I go across here. Then I see I can also use this up here, because we did line these all up when we were using our ruler. We lined these all up the same. So if I look up here, I can get this up here too and say, oh yeah, there it is right there. That's about where I need to be. And then I come down here like so. And then this one's, I just follow and trace over the top of that bottom line we created, that really light line. I hope you can see that really light line. I think it's visible through the video at this point. And then here, maybe I'll start up here. Why not? Let's keep with keeping things straightforward. Like, let's use the same process again. We start down here with this hash marks. We have these hash marks already set in place, and I'll just go up vertical. And then I'll stop there and make a dot. Okay. Keep the pencil on the paper. Keep the pencil on the paper, make a little dot there and say, okay, I'm about lined up here. And then I can come down straight like this. And then I go across. And then you'll recall, I finish up like that. You'll recall that I do have my hand at all times on the paper and on my board. So my paper's taped to my board, and then I can slide my hand while I'm doing my pencil lines across the board. So I'm basically leaving my hand on the board at all times as I'm drawing my pencil line, versus being up in the air kind of doing this. My hand's on the board, and that's how I get that accurate pencil line, if I just slide my hand on the board sideways and up and down, diagonally, whatever way is necessary to get the lines on the paper smoothly and accurately as possible. All right, so we did these three. Let's finish up the pencil drawing down here, these swatches down here. Maybe this time we'll start over here. Maybe we'll go up here to that next light sketch line we did across. We make a little bit of a dot here. Keep our pencil on the paper at all times. Make another dot here. As we see, we're lining up about right here. Good. And very good. Down to there. And then this is a home run over here. Easy. Right across. On the sketch line we have already set in place. And we'll do the same thing. We'll start over on this side this time. And again, I'm aiming for this line there, straight up. I make a little dot. I go across on the sketch line we already have there. Hard to go wrong there. Then we go straight down. Plumb. Plumb straight down. Plumb is just, which means straight, like this. That would be an angle, and plumb is exactly vertical. So we would call that a plumb line in construction. If you drop a plumb line like a string line, plumb means it's plumb straight. It's not angled in any direction, just perfectly straight. Vertical. And there we go, we got that there. I started up here. I kind of just by eye felt that was about there. I go across here, make another dot here. I can change around my angle of my pencil if I want to. Another dot here and across like that. Good. Very good. And one more. Dot here and up straight, vertical, plumb. Across, level. These are level lines, so this is level. And then plumb straight down. Completely accurate vertical. And then across level. And there we have it. All right, so let's pick up some paints now. If you have to, you can spritz the paints a little bit if you need to. I'll work right over here. And this is a nice cool green. Maybe like a nice ocean green. Like, you know, sometimes you'll see that beautiful green, cool green in the ocean. And I'll just remember to dip my brush in the water, dry off a little bit of water, and kind of control the brush, the water in the brush. So I don't want to go onto my paper with too much water, especially doing these swatches. Okay, I rinse off my brush now, dry off a little bit of the water. Let's come over here. A nice blue, nice, kind of like a ultramarine blue. If you're familiar with some watercolor paints already, you know, we could call these really, they're very much my standard palette. I rinse off my brush a little bit, add some water to this. My standard palette, I'm so familiar with it that I look at all these colors and I can pretty much associate and relate each of these colors with the colors that I already have in my palette and kind of describe it according to those colors. So once your eyes get set to the palette colors you use, and I often mention if you can kind of stick with the same colors all the time, and then if you need to add some interesting different colors in your palette, you can always add them to the side when you're working. But I think it's always a good thing to kind of keep the same colors. You get used to them and your eyes get adjusted to them, and you sort of, it tends to be easier to mix colors and match colors when you're painting if you have a set palette of colors that you use all the time. All right, so now we'll move right down here. I think this is purple. Violet, yep. I'll go across here. And you can have different methods to creating your swatches. And I'll go over a few down here on these last four in this on this sheet of paper that we're working on. I'll go over kind of my favorites that I tend to practice a lot, and I think they're in my book too. I was mentioned I have a book on watercolor. It's called Methods for Success. Great book. I have a video in the description box below. I have a video of the book, so you can see each and every page of the book quickly as I leaf through it. And you'll be able to see that I have like over 65 beautiful paintings in there. I describe all the colors I use in the paintings, what kind of techniques I'm using to create the paintings. And I also have in the beginning of the book swatches and all kinds of interesting information that are basically fundamentals that you would learn before you start watercolor painting, or when you're starting to learn watercolor. You would start to learn some of the exercises and the information in the beginning of the book, and you'll see all of that in the video if you wanted to do a quick cursory glance at the video. It's a couple, maybe like a 2 or 3 minute video, and it covers again the whole book. I just go through each of the pages. This way you can see the whole book, what it's inside of it before you buy it. I know that's frustrating sometimes to buy a book and you open up the pages and it's like nothing like you thought it would be, or it's just, doesn't have much information in it, or all black and white pictures or something like that. So that's why I have my book in a 2-minute format on a video, so you can kind of leaf through it and see what it looks like. And again, I have all those different subject matter in my book. So everything: landscapes, seascapes, flower paintings, a little bit of portrait painting, beach scenes, awesome stuff like that. So that's going to be fun if you check that out. And let's see now. Let's do this. I promised you I would do some interesting. Let's do this. We're going to do a beautiful earth tone, a nice brown. This is like a burnt umber or a Van Dyke brown, and we're going to do this. We're going to do this is like a Z stroke. We make a Z like this with our brush first, and then we just come across here and fill in the rest of the swatch like this. So that basic Z shape gives you a really good amount of coverage in that square, or any wash you're doing for that matter. That's why the Z stroke is like one of my favorites that I use a lot when I paint. And then we can do another one. We'll try some black here, or is this some purple? Yeah, that looks like almost like a Payne's gray. Okay, let's try the H stroke. H is like this. We just do a quick 1 down, 2 down, and then H. That's the H. Pick up a little more paint, and then we just finish off like that and like this. All right. Let's do the next. Let's do, it's a really beautiful orange, a dark orange. We're going to do the S stroke now. I'll add a little more water to this. Perfect. Pick up some more paint after you get that first S, which is why we call it the S stroke. You get that first S in there, and then all you have to do is just finish up a few areas quickly, and you have it. And that's what's nice about these. If you practice these brush strokes, you can put them into your paintings when you're painting, and then do large sections of your painting quickly, because you kind of know, wow, I'm going to get a big area of it with my S or my Z or my H. And then all I got to do is worry about getting those last few areas in quickly. And then you can get a wash in real fast. Paint won't dry on you that quickly. It's kind of like a game of time, right? When you watercolor paint, the paint's drying fast, and you just you have to move quick. So let's see, let's try this one. And now maybe we'll just do, we'll do another Z stroke here. Across and across there. Straight into the paint. I didn't even mix it out over here, just straight into the paint. And if other colors get mixed in there, it looks good actually. We'll do some mixtures on our next group of swatches that we do. But now we're done with our first set of swatches. These are so much fun. Try it out. Try 2 or 3 of these. We're going to come back in a few minutes. What I'll do is when we come back, I'll just take a quick break if you don't mind. And then what I'll do is when we come back, I will put a new palette in here. I'm going to plug in my regular standard palette I use all the time, my Schmincke palette. So you'll see my paint palette that I use pretty much on a normal basis for the most part, but I do use this Prangoval 16 often too to practice on my own or just to have fun. Maybe I'll take this out on like a trip out, like let's say to visit some family members, and I just want to throw a quick palette in my duffel bag with some paper and do a couple quick sketches. This is perfect for that. Okay, so I'll be right back. Let me just quick get my other palette, find it in my studio here, and then I'll have everything ready to go. And another piece of paper we'll need to create some new swatches. Okay, so we'll be right back. All right, so let's switch out our paper and our palette. So I'll start lifting up the tape here. Okay. And I'll get a few more pieces of tape. Okay, looks good. Okay, so now we have this second swatch here. Paper set up for swatches and color swatches. Let's do this. We're going to switch out our palette. And you saw all the great colors we got with this Prangoval 16 set. And again, this is so easy to use. Again, it's your, if you're just starting out with watercolors, this is your palette. You definitely want to pick up that and use that to start with for sure. Makes life a lot easier starting out. And this is this is the Schmincke palette I use. And you see this on my videos all the time if you're watching. And if you're a beginner too, like if you're a beginner, watch all the videos, even the videos that seem to be like more, more difficult, let's say, or, maybe for people that are more advanced. Don't worry about it. Just watch it, practice a little part of it or something. Always remember, you don't always have to paint the whole painting. You can always paint parts of paintings. That's actually a great way I learned a long time ago. I would, when I first started out painting, I used to just paint like parts of paintings. Like, oh, I like that house in that painting that person did. That person did a watercolor of a house and a field and some mountains. Well, I just did the house if I liked it. Instead of trying to do the whole painting, I just said, let me break it down simple because I'm struggling here and I'm just starting out with watercolor. What was I going to do? I knew I wasn't getting a lot of progress trying to work on big, large paintings with all kinds of intricate information on it. I figured, hey, let me just break it down into smaller parts. Maybe if I paint just the house 3 or 4 times and then I paint maybe the mountain 2 or 3 times, well, then maybe I can put a house and the mountain in there once I've practiced those parts a few times. And it works good that way, actually, when you're first starting out. Just, kind of what I did anyway. So we'll do the same thing we did before. I'll take some tape, roll it on up, and I'll put it on the back of the palette like that. And just set it down like that so it doesn't move around. And then we're going to add some green. Sap green. So this was one of the things I mentioned about watercolor. Like sometimes when you're doing these, when you're using these palettes, which is the fresh squeeze 2 paints, it gets a little messy. They dry a little bit faster and get hard quicker. So the Prang set, you just spritz it and you're ready to paint at all times, anytime. This type of palette, when you're using fresh 2 paint like this all the time, number one, you got to fill the pans up quite frequently to keep paint in there. And then, so that gets a little messy sometimes on the hands and the clothes and whatever else, So it's not that easy to work with these palettes. More challenging. But you will, after maybe 6 months or a year, you'll say, yeah, I'm going to try it out. And you start working with some of the two paints. And I think you should try to get into a palette like this sooner rather than later. And I'll explain why when we're doing these swatches. But we're right in the very beginning. You're probably not going to have to worry about that. But after maybe 6 months or a year, you're like picking it up and enjoying it a lot. Then you'll pick up some two paints and get a palette like this. So filling up the, paint. And then you also have to put it in a plastic bag and keep it in a cool place so that you can try to keep the paints a little bit moist so they don't dry out too much in any case. And you can still spritz these the same as you would your Prang Oval 16. That's fine. I do that often. All right, so let's create a few more swatches. Maybe here we'll do the same thing. We'll do another, maybe. We'll do 3 rows again, 1. And maybe we'll do a larger. We'll do a larger couple swatches here. Actually, we'll do a large one here like this. Just to break it up a little bit, okay? And then what I'll do is I'll just make some hash marks. 1, 2, and 3. So I'll make 3, 1, 2, 3 here, and then maybe we'll do some rectangles. So we'll do 1 here and 1 here. We'll do 2 rectangles here. And I think I didn't have to do this here. I didn't have to make these hash marks here, actually. These come down like this. I'll just take these and sort of make the hash marks, or dots, to line them up, plumb, like that. Okay, so now we have our light pencil lines just to give us a guide of where our swatches are going to be. And then we made our hash marks. I decided to make 3 large swatches, so let's start out here. Maybe we'll start out down here, and we'll just do the same thing as we did before. And once we come up to here, we're fine. We have that level line across here that we made with the ruler. Then we'll come down here again, plumb line, trying to keep it as straight as possible, going this way. We want to kind of avoid angles like this if we can keep it pretty much straight. And you can also use your pencil to make yourself a little bit of a, you say, all right, the pencil's straight. You put your finger there, your pointer finger there, your index finger there, and you make the little dot, and then that's what you go for. You aim for that and go like that, and across, of course. We'll do this one again. Up here, across, dot here. Find my dot down here and say, okay, I'm going to aim for going straight vertical down this way, plumb, and then across. And we'll do the same thing here. We'll go up, across. That's simple. Following the sketch line we made with the ruler, we come down straight, plumb, dot, and we go across again, the same thing, across the line that light sketch line that we made with the ruler, and we're good. And then here we'll do 2 rectangles. Same kind of thing. We'll come down this way and go 1 down there, across on our pencil line. We already established that light sketch line. Vertical up, dot, and across. Try it again. We'll do this way, down, dot, stop there, runner jogging in place, runner jogging in place, up vertical, runner jogging in place until I say, all right, this is the next area we have to go to, and then there. Okay, perfect. Now we'll get a larger brush here. Let's find a larger brush if I can. Okay, so I have a larger brush. This is a number, I think think this is a number 10 Charles Reed travel brush. I really enjoy these brushes a lot. I'm pretty sure this is a number 10 or a number 8. This is actually a number 8. The 10 is a little bit bigger. I'm looking over here. I have the other 10 is here. So this would be a 10. This one's a 10 and this one's like an 8. So it's a little bit smaller. And then we'll do that. I rinse off the brush. I have my tissue in hand just in case we want to check off and take off a little bit of water off the brush after we rinse it. And then we'll go in and we'll just start out. Maybe we'll start out with beautiful alizarin crimson. I put the tip of the brush into the moist, juicy paint, like this. And then I just start and let's do a Z stroke. So we get the Z stroke going across here. Like this. I dip in a little bit of water. Maybe I'll add just a little bit of water to this. And do another that way. And then move my hand over here, rest my hand on the paper, on the board, and then just smooth out that wash. And then do the same thing. I'm just going to smooth that wash across like this, going back and forth. Like that. And there we have a beautiful, rich, that could be a rose, that could be a red barn, that could be so many different things, but that's a beautiful alizarin crimson. Look how gorgeous that color is. And then we could also, let's do next, let's do a blue, French ultramarine blue. We'll do the same thing. This time we'll do an S stroke. So you can see I'm using that rich, juicy paint, tube paint, right? And not much water. Okay. Fresh paint. That's what the tube paint gives you. You get really phenomenal, vibrant, rich, juicy colors. And of course you can always add water to these and make these lighter, these washes, but I'm showing you the real power of the colors, the real vibrancy and impact you can have with these colors. Okay, rinse off. Let's go with the Viridian Green. Again, I'm right into the juicy paint. Let's try the H stroke. One's down there. More paint. Take the brush, go down there, make the other side of the H. One more time, get the paint loaded on the brush. Do the H, the center of the H. And then all we have left now, pick up some more paint. And then all we have to do is fill in or apply the paint to the rest of the swatch very carefully and easily because we have covered most of it with the H brush strokes like that. And then we just go across with the tip of our brush, keeping in mind we're always keeping an eye on the very point of our brush. Keep the point of your brush your focus point, so that the tip of your brush. So you're always keeping your eye on the tip of the brush, following your pencil lines. And if you go off the lines, no big deal. You can make it, if you went over the line like that, no big deal. Make this one larger. Just make it larger, come down like that, and just widen it up and make it larger, like that. Okay, look how beautiful these colors are. Again, you will want to shift up to these two paints, you know, like I said, after maybe 6 months. But get used to painting first with your Prang Oval 16 set first. Get used to painting and doing a lot of these swatches. And then you move up to this, because you'll see that you can see how beautiful the colors are and how rich and vibrant everything is. Let's create a gorgeous lemony yellow here. Again, here I'm just going to do some parallel strokes, which is just level strokes along the paper like this. So I'll start at the top and just go right across like this. And just move the brush back and forth. I'm keeping the tip of the brush in my view at all times. And then once I get most of the swatch in this area filled in, then I just keep the eye on the point of the brush so that I can complete the swatch like that. Look how good that looks. All right, wow. We're making some fantastic progress here. Let's do one more. Let's do the purple. This is Ultramarine Violet by Winsor Newton. I use mostly Winsor Newton paints, also Holbein. So you'll see me use Holbein colors. The Holbein, I use titanium white a lot, Holbein. I use a lot of the Holbein colors too, but mostly Winsor and Newton. And then the Winsor and Newton looks like this. These are the tubes. And again, all my colors and paint supplies and everything I use are down below in the comment section below. Let's try that. We're doing a purple now. And let's add a little bit of water to that, just to thin it down a little bit. Let's see how that looks. We'll do the same thing, just get that first stroke on there, and then we come in with our second parallel stroke across like this, and then we just tidy up the rest of the swatch carefully, looking at the point of the brush to keep the point in view at all times so that we can stick right with the pencil lines that we need to complete the swatch like so. All right. And then to finish up a little bit, we can add a little splash here and there. A couple splashes there. We'll get some yellow, lemon yellow. Now for splashes, all you do is you have to add a little more water for splashing. So you would add a little more water to your, you wouldn't really splash with thick, goopy paint that's, you know, right out of the tube. You have to add just a little bit of water to it to get it so that when you take it and swing your brush down and tap on it with your index finger, you'll get those couple little bits of splash that you want. If you like splashing. I really like splashing in my paintings all the time, so I'm just going to do a few here on each of the colors. You can make a splash really light, adding a lot of water like this, but not as dark like that. So you can add some of that too. And then some blue. You could switch up your your splashing by taking a smaller brush like this. This is like a number 6 Charles Reed travel brush. You rinse that off. We'll select the blue here. Pick up some of that blue. Okay, and then if you have a smaller brush, that's going to give you, and you don't use as much water, less water, you can get some fine speckles like that, fine splashing like this. And we'll finish up with a little bit of the Viridian. Some finer splashing. And there we have it. If you don't like splashing, again, you don't do it, don't worry about it. You could take a separate piece of paper and practice your splashing all you want. You can try all different colors, really lots of water in your splashes, a little bit less water in your splashes, more straight paint. You could try all different things, larger brushes, smaller brushes. Have fun with this. Learn your brushes, learn your techniques. You'll have a fun time with it, trust me. You'll be really comfortable with painting when you're really doing these every once in a while. You just pick up your swatches every once in a while and do a few of these. And you're going to be really, again, astounded at how much easier it is to paint and get through a painting or through your compositions when you practice these techniques and working with your brush and your paints and your colors. Okay, well, I can't wait to get back in the next video very, very soon. We'll be together again very in the near future. I always make videos every week, so again, stay tuned. I hope you'll subscribe right on the right-hand side below. There's the subscribe button. Don't forget, subscribe and thumbs up. Especially subscribe. This way you don't miss a thing. We're getting together again at least once a week, sometimes twice and 3 times a week. But at least once a week we get together and paint. And we're painting everything watercolor. You'll have a fun time. Enjoy it. And again, always remember, you just work a little bit at a time. Each time you pick up your paints for 15, 20 minutes or half an hour a day, or you watch a video or you work along with the video, that's all going to be good practice. That's going to help your skills, and you'll always progress and do really well in watercolor as long as you're just moving ahead and practicing and working along and putting in some time each and every day or every other day, or even if you can only do it once a week. If you don't have the time, even practicing once a week, you'll make good progress. I promise you that. All right, so we'll be back very, very soon. Great to paint with you, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.